Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching The Right to the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards, fire up your fingers, and come join the conversation. Hey everybody, I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and it is Friday, December 27th, 2019, and this is the final episode of The Right of the People for this year. I'm glad that you're here with me, and, glad that my esteemed panel is here as well. First time being here in a long time. He's been caught up in work. We got Stealth Hunter with us. How you doing, sir?
Hello, evening, everybody. I appreciate the invite.
Oh, no problem, man. You're welcome anytime you can make it. And as usual, we've got the kingpin himself, David Bowling. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, good to see you too, sir. Looks like they've been going at it kind of hard out there in the chat. Gabe Stark is here. Janet Schwartz is here. I don't think I recognize your name. Welcome to the show. Hopefully you stick around and come back. Hopefully you like what you see and hear. For those of you who may not have viewed this show before, what we do here is I scour the internet for Second Amendment related current events, news stories, etc., and present them to you, the audience, and my esteemed panel. I discuss it with the panel and those of you out there in the audience, because unlike radio or television, this is a two-way conversation here. Say something out there in the chat. If you have something to chime in, you have something you want to talk about, say it out there. I just ask that we keep it PG-13 because, I try to be a little respectable here, Anyhow, Janet Schwartz is out there, New York Outcast. How you doing, Rob? Let's see. Who else we got? Boob Sweat leads the Pearl Necklaces. How are you? Jason Stewart. Excuse me, please. Ozzy Osbourne, Bark at the Moon, buddy. Guitar Man Pete, 2 Live Moo, Keith Gregory. 9 Millimia, how you doing? Yes, my steaming panel. No, Guitar Man, my esteemed panel. That means that, they're like awesome and top notch. Obnoxious One is here. Hello. So let's go ahead and get this going. Wow. 2019, it's been a lot of ground we've covered, a lot of stuff that's happened from the NRA implosion to, all of the jackassery that our wonderful anti-rights buddies have thrown up at us all the time. And yeah, I use that phrase. Intentionally, because they have absolutely vomited up all of their anti-freedom, anti-rights garbage, and they continue to do it. They did not miss an opportunity this year to dance in the blood of innocent victims and use any tragedy to advance their political agenda. But we already know that, right? With the complicity of their willing partners in the mainstream legacy media. So, yeah, gotta love that. Speaking of gotta love that, Night Strike has joined us. How are you, sir?
Good. Did you see what I said earlier in the chat?
No, sir, I did not see it.
Okay. Well, you might want to read it.
Do I really want to read it?
No, you don't. I'm just fucking with you.
Hey! There's my one. Thanks.
There's my one. There you go.
There's my one. No F-bombs. Anyhow.
All right, my bad. Sorry about that.
But as 2019 has been wrapping up, those of you who've been paying attention, Virginia is in the crosshairs right now of the anti-gunners. For those who aren't aware, this year Virginia flip-flopped and now is controlled in their versions of the House and their version of the Senate. Their legislature and their governor's office are all Democrat controlled, and they are wasting not any time in filing gun control bills. They already have a bunch of them pre-filed, and for when they enter session in January, they will be passed. Their governor will sign them, and the citizens of Virginia are in an uproar. They have finally awoken. Unfortunately, unfortunately too late to do them any good at the polls, but they are fighting hard now. Their governor has threatened to jail anyone who stands in his way, and there are even some elected officials in Virginia who have suggested that the governor call out the National Guard to arrest any sheriff or other elected official who refuses to follow the unconstitutional gun laws that they have coming down the pike. In response, over 90% of Virginia's counties have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries, where they will not enforce any gun control laws that the legislature and King Northam pass. Did you have something you wanted to say, Night Strike?
Yeah, I did on the whole Virginia situation.
Sure, go ahead.
You know, they woke up a little too late because they didn't go out and vote like they were supposed to.
That's it.
Because apparently people were working, or they just couldn't find the time because they were watching the kids. Bring the kids with you to go vote.
Yeah.
Yes, the kids aren't going to vote, obviously, but, bring them with you. Find the time on your lunch break. Go out and vote.
This
Seriously.
is a stellar example of the phrase elections have consequences. This is why, as gun owners, we cannot afford to sit at home on election day. I hate to say it. I hate to say it because it's a terrible choice that we have. But if we have to hold our nose and vote for someone less than perfect in order to prevent someone absolutely horrible from getting in charge, we might want to think about doing that. Speaking of someone absolutely horrible, who do we got in here? Our lovable yet irascible yet lovable, Squibload. How are you, sir?
Yeah, fumbling around trying to find the mute button.
That's all right. That's all right. Glad that you could make it in here today, sir.
So,
Thanks. Appreciate the invite.
Go ahead, Night Strike.
I heard that the Virginia National Guard said they weren't going to intervene.
The Virginia National Guard made a statement. The commander of the National Guard made the statement that basically he hadn't heard anything. He hasn't been ordered anything, and don't run around like a chicken with your head cut off until basically we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, just don't say anything while you're in uniform. You're free to do whatever you want. It was a statement to his personnel that don't make any statements while you're in uniform. When you're in private life, do whatever you want. So I suspect that order would be ignored.
I believe so too, because if you read the Virginia Constitution, they're pretty cut and clear about the rights to bear arms shall not be infringed and all that. Whereas this gun control would work in states of which that isn't technically in their constitution, like California and New York.
Yep.
But in Virginia, it's pretty cut and dry. And the fact that they're trying to put laws that intentionally violate the state constitution, they're going to get a lot of pushback on this.
Janet Schwartz has a very good point out there. She says voting is a must, but when 3 urban districts have like 70% of the vote, I hear you. This is also a textbook example of why the Electoral College exists on the federal level, to prevent New York and L.A. and in Chicago, the major urban centers, from ruling the rest of us. So, speaking of Governor Northam in Virginia and the National Guard, this is a piece from Breitbart from, when is it? From December 24th, from Christmas Eve. Spokesperson, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam has no plans to call in the National Guard. The Los Angeles Times quoted Northam spokeswoman Alana Yarmovsky saying Northam has absolutely no plans to call in the National Guard. The clarification of Northam's position comes after Representative Donald McEachin, Democrat, Virginia, suggested the governor use the National Guard to force compliance with any newly passed gun controls. The Washington Examiner quoted McEachin saying, "I'm not the governor, but the governor may have to nationalize the National Guard to enforce the law. That's his call, because I don't know how serious these counties are and how severe the violations of law will be. But that's obviously an option he has." Northam's decision not to call in the National Guard at this time also follows Culpeper County Sheriff Scott Jenkins' vow to, quote, deputize thousands to defend gun rights. Jenkins said, "Every sheriff and Commonwealth attorney in Virginia will see the consequences if our General Assembly passes further unnecessary gun restrictions. Red flag laws without due process will create enormous conflict as well. America has more guns than citizens, and murder has long been illegal. At best, the proposed gun restrictions will disarm or handicap our law-abiding in their defense and possibly cause a criminal to choose another tool for evil." Jenkins added, "If necessary, I plan to properly screen and deputize thousands of our law-abiding citizens to protect their constitutional right to own firearms." So, good on him. And that's the latest statement from Northam's camp, from King Northam's court. He has apparently said that he's not going to call the guard, which, I suspect is probably a good idea. Because as I said, they may not listen to what you're going to say. The first thing a leader learns is don't give an order that won't be obeyed. But, as the infomercial guys say, but wait, there's more.
There is more, and there's one caveat. He may not be able to rally the National Guard, the
constitutional laws and enforce them. You are sadly mistaken. Because King Northam has grown his increased the corrections budget. Man, seriously, am I really buffering like that? Oh, that's horrible. I apologize, folks. I don't know why I'm buffering so badly. Anyhow, Virginia Governor Northam increases corrections budget in anticipation of jailing gun owners. This is from the Daily Caller from Christmas Eve. As if Virginia Governor Ralph Northam's wholesale attack on law-abiding gun owners wasn't enough, the disgraced public official and his Michael Bloomberg-bought allies in the General Assembly now want the state's hardworking taxpayers to foot the bill for their unconstitutional schemes. The budget bill, HB 30, includes an appropriation of $250,000 to carry out a host of gun control measures that Northam and his anti-gun allies hope to enact. The $250,000 is appropriated to the Corrections Special Reserve Fund in order to provide for the increase in the operating cost of adult correctional facilities resulting from the enactment of Northam's gun control measures. No. Don't care about Doctor Who. Let's get rid of that. Thank you. Northam's gun control measures. Among the enumerated laws that this allocation is meant to fund is a ban on commonly owned semi-automatic firearms, the criminalization of private firearms transfers, and gun confiscation orders issued without due process. Aside from the insult of forcing law-abiding Virginia taxpayers to pay for the diminution of their rights, the gun control allocation is a severe waste of resources. Northam's Bloomberg-backed gun control measures will not make Virginia safer. In addition to being unconstitutional, a ban on commonly owned semi-automatic firearms will not reduce violent crime. Long guns of any description are rarely used in violent crime. The FBI Unified Crime Reporting data breaks down homicides by weapon type. In 2018, the FBI reported that there were 5 times as many individuals listed as killed with knives or cutting instruments than with rifles of any kind. The data more than a little bit. Well, you know, folks, this wouldn't be my show without the good old technical diddlies. So, yeah. This buffaroony. Anyhow, let's get back to this. Man, I'm not even doing anything fancy schmancy with all this. Are we there? Shit, I lost everybody. God dang it. What in the hell? This is aggravating. Of course, 2019 would have to go out with because, you know, it just can't be either. Send out my links again. Are you guys back?
Budget, you there?
Yes, I'm here now. Great.
You're not trying. You're
We
not
can hear
streaming on YouTube and Facebook at the same time, are you?
No, I'm not trying to do YouTube and Facebook at the same time.
Okay.
I have learned that lesson and stopped even I don't even have anything on my screens on my graphics
From what I've
scrolling.
noticed, what I've noticed that how old is your computer?
2 or 3 years maybe. It's not that old.
It seems like it's struggling to open up all these windows and do all this fancy stuff. That's what I was getting at.
It's not.
And
it's
that might cause the bug.
that old. Rotten piece of.
I can see you on like the YouTube side, but I don't know if anyone else can hear us or see the chat at all. I just
Let
see
me
you
refresh
and
the
your
YouTube
screens.
side.
I don't see.
Well, I can tell you that on the YouTube side they haven't demonetized it yet because I'm seeing another ad. That's a shock.
Yeah, well, sorry about earlier. I was just preoccupied.
They're saying they can hear us.
Okay, now we're back.
They can hear us. They just can't see us.
Yay! They can see us now. Woohoo! All right, so back to talking about this garbage.
Do we have to?
Yes.
All right.
Where is it? Where is it? In
This
Virginia.
is the scheduled program for this time. We must continue.
You
The
hush.
person responsible for sacking the people responsible has been sacked.
Okay. Carry on.
I gotta bring you guys back. Maybe you guys are the problem. No, shouldn't be. Let me bring you guys back. Gun tube chamber. There we go. Hey, they're back too now.
Yay.
All right, so everything's working so far. Guitar Man Pete says, this is the way. Yeah. This is the way. This is the way of technical difficulties. Excuse me. All righty. Sorry about that, folks, but this wouldn't be my show if it didn't have technical difficulties. So I guess 2019 is starting as it is ending as it started, right? Yeah. All right. So far, what are your thoughts on this whole Virginia fiasco, on the governor appropriating more funds for the corrections budget in anticipation of jailing people? Personally, I think $250,000 is just a drop in a bucket of what he's planning to spend, but we'll see.
Well,
the word greed comes to mind.
They gotta have expensive jail cells for themselves, so he's just preparing to go to jail. That's all.
Oh, they ain't preparing themselves to go to jail. That's a fact. They're preparing that for y'all. By y'all, I mean you Virginia citizens who are not going to bow down to tyranny. So yeah, that's who they want to. That's who they want to put the boot to. Janet Schwartz said, I heard today one of the first things to be brought up when session begins on the 8th is a gun-free zone thing for the Capitol. Yeah, that's because they don't want you folks to be armed when you go protesting on January 20th. They absolutely don't want you armed there. They want the entire place to be a gun-free zone, like D.C. And they're going to do it, so be prepared. When you go there protesting, when you go there gathering, when you go there to petition the government for redress of your grievances in peaceful assembly, you're going to be doing so unarmed because, well, tyrants. Just remember your state motto, folks. Remember what's on your seal. Not that I'm calling for any such things. Let's see. Where was I?
We're having technical difficulties.
Yes, but we have, I think, overcome the technical difficulties. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Everybody else cross their fingers.
Sure?
Everybody else cross their fingers. So we're going to go back to yet more on Virginia because this is an article from Law Enforcement Today from December 27th. It says Virginia gun control. If you own a weapon capable of holding 7 rounds or more, you'll be a felon. By Mitch McKinley from, today. In the ongoing chess match between good and evil, the citizenry of Virginia, the good, seem to have the upper hand, the U.S. Constitution, over Governor Northam, his AG Mark Herring, and the Democrat-led General Assembly, the evil. Did everything die?
No, you just stopped. So the good, the evil. Now what?
You're screwing on YouTube.
There we go.
I think it's your computer, man.
There we go. Anyhow, General-led Assembly, the evil. For those of you the guys on the chamber can't see what's going on my screen.
I got 3 screens. I can see it.
Yeah. Well, it was black because the XSplit, when I had to restart everything, kind of lost one of the scenes lost a source. So I had to go put it back. Anyhow, the Virginia Citizens Defense League is taking the state-level elected officials to task over the push to ban and confiscate practically every weapon in the Commonwealth. 2 pieces of legislation have been pre-filed for the 2020 session. They'll be taken up after the new politicians are sworn in on January 8th, creating a shift in power and putting the Democrats in that state in the driver's seat. Two major parts of the proposed new laws are if a gun, pistol, rifle, or shotgun, can accept a magazine over 7 or 10, the weapon is deemed an assault weapon and is therefore illegal. You do not have to be in possession of the magazine or even have it in the weapon. Let me read that again. If a gun, pistol, rifle, or shotgun can accept a magazine over 7 or 10, the weapon is deemed an assault weapon and is therefore illegal. You do not have to be in possession of the magazine or even have it in the weapon. The second part is a bill seeking to criminalize the intention to do something, not the doing or planning, but the intention. How will they predict an act that has not happened yet? The state originally defined an assault weapon as a semi-automatic centerfire firearm equipped with a folding stock or equipped at the time with the magazine capable of holding more than 20 rounds or capable of accommodating a silencer/suppressor. The pending legislation, SB 16, would expand that definition to include changing the magazine size from 20 down to between 7 and 10. The pending pre-filed bill will also allow for criminalizing the intent to possess, sell, or trade these illegal firearms. In other words, if you simply think about owning a gun, you can be apprehended and charged with a crime. Any person who sells, barters, gives, or furnishes, or has in his possession or under his control with the intent of selling, bartering, giving, or furnishing any firearm to any person he knows is prohibited from possessing or transporting a firearm, blah, 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 is guilty of a Class 4 felony. Excuse me. Please note, it does not say that you may be found guilty of. This bill has predetermined that you are a felon for simply intending to do something. Translation, don't even think about it, or we will convict you of a felonious act. According to VCDL, as of December 23rd, 87 of the 95 counties in Virginia had adopted a Second Amendment sanctuary status, with more planning to do so. While the AG took the official stance that these resolutions carry no legal authority, the VCDL argues, quite successfully, that the AG has established a precedent in the matter. Herring did issue an advisory opinion on December 20th. The VCDL, along with Gun Owners of America, issued a written response on the 26th. Here's a portion of their executive summary. Herring's official advisory opinion was issued on December 20th, 2019. In it, AG Herring argues that Second Amendment sanctuary resolutions have no legal effect. Local government officials must comply with gun violence prevention measures that the General Assembly may enact, and neither local governments nor local constitutional officers have the authority to declare state statutes unconstitutional or decline to follow them on that basis. Each of these contentions is untrue. Based on the Herring AO and various statements reported in the press, it is apparent that AG Herring and Governor Northam believe that Virginia localities have a duty to actively assist the Commonwealth in the enforcement of any law enacted by the General Assembly. These officials appear to believe that such blind obedience is required, irrespective of whether a law violates the U.S. Constitution, the Virginia Constitution, or is manifestly destructive of the pre-existing rights of the people of Virginia. This radical view is demonstrably false and ignores the significance of the fact that local officials are required by law to take an oath to support the federal and state constitutions above the laws enacted by the General Assembly. Moreover, neither Attorney General Herring nor Governor Northam can credibly demand that local governments must implement every act of the General Assembly because that view directly contradicts the positions they have taken in the past. Indeed, on 3 recent occasions, AG Herring and Governor Northam have taken exactly the opposite legal position with respect to the defense of the Virginia Marriage Amendment to the Virginia Constitution, the General Assembly's refusal to assist the federal government with the arrest and detention of civilians as authorized by the National Defense Appropriations Act of 2012, and the right of localities in Virginia to become sanctuary cities with respect to the enforcement of federal immigration laws. Truly, this view is contrary to the most basic principle which underlay our form of government, is anti-biblical, and is profoundly abusive of the pre-existing and inalienable rights of the people of Virginia. In essence, the AG has argued that counties must blindly follow laws enacted by the General Assembly, even if they deem it to be unconstitutional. The same AG argued the exact opposite regarding sanctuary for illegal immigrants and same-sex marriage. Therefore, what he is basically saying is that liberal policies allow for deviation from law because rights and freedom. Constitutional policies cannot legally be given merit because, well, the AG said so. So that's the type of tyrants you have running your state, folks. And yes, the proposed law says what you think it says. Any weapon capable of accepting a magazine larger than 7 to 10 rounds. Any weapon capable of accepting a suppressor. That's my Taurus TX-22 is an assault weapon then. That 1911, because you can get a magazine that's greater than, it's capable of accepting a 30-round magazine if someone made one. That's an assault weapon. Any magazine-fed firearm is an assault weapon, according to them. Discuss, folks.
I just would like to point out that all the stuff the governor and his attorney general are trying to put in place, and then they're also trying to get bills, anti-gun bills put in place. There's this thing called, the oath of office, and yes, even the state of Virginia has its own oath of office, of which the first sentence is, "I do honor that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth." And when are we going to start calling out these politicians actively knowing and violating the oath of office? Does it mean nothing? Because apparently to them it does. So when are we going to start calling people out for that? Am I the only person that follows this stuff or reads this stuff?
No, you're not.
Apparently,
there are
I must
people
be.
who believe in it, but unfortunately, they're not.
I mean, why do we have it in the first place if we aren't going to hold people to it? I don't understand this. Why is it there if no one is held to it?
You think the guy that is okay with having a woman deliver a baby and then sitting it off to the side and keeping it comfortable and deciding whether or not to kill it later cares about that Constitution? You think the Virginia government that refused to hear the testimony of two women that were accusing the lieutenant governor of rape, do you think they care about the Constitution? Virginia's been in so much trouble, way deeper trouble than this gun thing that they're going through right now. Virginia's about a year behind their protest, and finally, I mean, it sucks that they're coming after the guns so hard, but at least this finally woke the people up to say maybe enough is enough. But they had enough to storm the Capitol building a year ago.
Yep. Vincere Altmori out there in the chat, which, by the way, welcome, is a Virginian, lives near Richmond, says that, let's see, where are we at? 2K dates in the fight for 2A are coming up. The NRA will be holding a rally on January 13th, and VCDL will be holding a rally on January 20th, both in Richmond, Virginia, at the Virginia Capitol. The NRA Defending Freedom Day rally will be held on January 13, 2020, starting at 8 a.m. at the Virginia State Capitol, 1000 Bank Street, Richmond, Virginia. The VCDL Lobby Day will be the biggest and most important event ever for protecting Virginia's 2A rights, January 20th, 2020, starting at 8 a.m., Virginia State Capitol, 900 East Main Street. I encourage anybody who can make it to those events, go. Support our brothers and sisters in Virginia because, believe me, it'll come here if they succeed there. 9mm, it makes that very same point. She says, make no mistake, Virginia is the test pilot. The government is waiting with bated breath to see how the country responds to Virginia, and their actions that follow will shape the future of this country. Oh, especially if in the 2020 election cycle they retake the Senate and the White House. Ho! Katie, bar the door and start digging up your supply caches, folks, because that'll be horrible.
Need to start doing it regardless.
Well, yeah, there's that too. There's a lot of people that say start burying your stuff, but then there's the other school of thought that says if it's time to start burying it, it's time to dig it up. And I know there's a lot of that talk going on right now. You know, this whole Virginia thing could be the spark that lights the fire. We'll see. I think that at these protest days, that at these rally days, at these lobby days, that there are going to be left-wing rabble-rousers bust in, and they're going to deliberately start something to try to touch off violence because they want to paint gun owners as being violent. They want someone to get shot. They want it because they'll blow. See, look what those evil people did. Let's take all their guns. So that this is going to be something to watch, folks. In other news, from ABC News by Aaron Shoemaker from December 16th. This is a little bit old as far as this show goes, but hey, I didn't have last week, so I didn't have a show last week, so I figured I'd cover this. Congress agrees on historic deal to fund $25 million in gun violence research. Congress has reached a spending agreement that includes $25 million for gun violence research, the first funding in more than 20 years to study a problem that kills 40,000 people annually. ABC doesn't have any editorial slant here. No. The money will be split evenly between the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the National Institutes of Health. While the allocation is less than the $50 million the House authorized for gun violence and safety research in the budget bill it passed in June, Dr. Mark Rosenberg, who ran the CDC's National Center for Injury Prevention and Control in the 1990s, called the funding a gesture of historic proportions. It's the biggest amount that the federal government has ever put into federal firearms research, Rosenberg noted. It signals an end to the drought of knowledge about preventing this significant problem. The bill will provide $12.5 million each for the CDC and the NIH. Given violence and suicide have a number of causes, the agreement recommends the CDC take a comprehensive approach to studying these underlying causes and evidence-based methods of prevention of injury, including crime prevention, the bill states. The same language is repeated in the bill for the NIH. Funding for gun violence research has been political football since 1996, when Congress passed the Dickey Amendment, which barred federally funded research that would advocate or promote gun control. While the Dickey Amendment did not outlaw gun violence research outright, the symbolic effect the amendment had was pronounced. Gun violence research effectively ground to a halt in the wake of the amendment, and the field atrophied as young scientists declined to focus their research in an area where they knew funding would be a continual struggle. What, you mean that they refuse to focus their research in an area where they can't come at their predetermined outcome? Wow. Strange how that works. What has happened in the last 20 years is that there's been a battle raging between the gun control people and the gun rights people, said Rosenberg, who led the NCIPC at the time the Dickey Amendment passed. They have spent more time and effort fighting each other than fighting the problem, he added. Year after year, Congress has been basically maintained this ban out of this kind of a faulty idea that gun violence research has somehow partisan, and so as a result, it is one of the most understudied causes of death in the United States. And it's just really fantastic to see some movement from Congress. Jonathan Metzl, professor and director of Center for Medicine, Health, and Society at Vanderbilt University, told ABC Live's The Briefing Room, well, really, it's some understudied, underfunded. Talk to Dr. John Lott about that, because that's all he does is study gun violence and violence prevention, quote unquote, so-called. Publications of firearm violence research fell 64% during the decade and a half that followed the amendment, according to an analysis published in JAMA Internal Medicine in 2017. In 2018, Congress clarified language in the amendment to state that the federal government has the authority to conduct research into the causes of gun violence, but that clarification did not come with any additional funding. It also didn't seem to have much effect on the culture at the CDC. While the new research dollars are important, the symbolism of the funding is also crucial, including for the people who work at the CDC, explained Ted Alcorn, an associate at the Mailman School of Public Health at Columbia University, who authored the JAMA internal medicine analysis. For too long, researchers have learned to assume that the CDC does not support gun violence research, he said. They need an affirmative push from Congress to say not only you can, but you shall support this kind of work. This funding hangs out a sign that says we're open for business, he added. So, there you go. CDC and NIH are going to be studying, quote, gun violence. It'll be interesting to see how slanted their studies are. NY Outcast says remove the gun part and they may be onto something. Absolutely. By using the phrase gun violence, they are already showing a bias. They are showing a predetermined viewpoint on what they expect. The entire term gun violence is prejudicial against the tool used. The study shouldn't be about the tool used, but about the action committed. That's what I think. Any thoughts?
I'm so pissed off about this funding bill that, I mean, I got steam coming out of my ears. And the gun part, I'm really angry about that, but that's just one small, almost insignificant part of this spending bill that they just put through. You know, $25 million is a drop in the bucket. I mean, I hate the fact that even defense is going toward what it's going toward, but this whole budget thing is so disgustingly sick. That's going to destroy our country before any Second Amendment infringements or First Amendment infringements. It's spending ourselves into oblivion.
Yeah, that's government. Always has been, always will be. I work for the government. I know. When when the end of the fiscal year comes around, you should see the flurry of spending to make sure that we don't have anything left over in the budget, because we can't have spent. We can't have it said that we didn't spend everything in the budget that way, because if we don't do that, then we won't get an increase, right? They wasted on so much shit it ain't funny. Let me see. Our next wonderful topic. Speaking of wasted on a bunch of shit, wasting money. Of course, it's his money to waste, but speaking of, we talked about King Northam earlier, but now let's talk about the man who would be king, Michael Bloomberg, and his lying mouth. This is a piece from Breitbart. Michael Bloomberg claims 21 students are shot every day under Trump. It's from December 21st by AWR Hawkins. Democrat presidential hopeful Michael Bloomberg claims 21 students are shot every day under President Trump. In other words, Bloomberg is claiming that the 14 students killed in Parkland, Florida on February 14, 2018 were only part of the picture that day. 7 others were allegedly shot somewhere else, if Bloomberg's claim is to be believed. And the next day, 21 more were shot. And then 21 were shot again the day after that, and so on. Bloomberg offers no substantiation for his claim. Instead, he released a video this week claiming that there have been 263 school shootings since President Trump took office. 2 things need to be noted. First, Bloomberg's video provides zero substantiation for the claim of 263 school shootings. Secondly, the phrase school shootings is very subjective and, as Bloomberg's gun control group Everytown for Gun Safety has shown, it can lead to massive amounts of exaggeration. For example, in December 2014, Everytown released a report claiming that 100 school shootings had occurred since the heinous December 14, 2012 attack on Sandy Hook Elementary School. Breitbart News examined the shootings listed by Everytown and reported that the list contained non-school shootings, shootings that did not occur, and accidental discharges of firearms that were legally possessed on campus. In fact, Everytown cited an Idaho State University instructor who accidentally shot himself in the foot with his concealed carry firearm as an example of a school shooting. So there you have it, old Mikey Mike, the man who would be king and rule your destiny and remove salt from their table and tell you can't buy a 24-ounce pop. I guess he would be horrified by my 44-ounce Club Chill Mighty from the Speedway. No endorsements, unfortunately. If you guys want to sponsor it, go ahead. I'm your guy. I'll chill.
All right, if we're going to throw out useless, unsubstantiated facts, okay, Michael Bloomberg is an anti-American Satanist individual that spends over $20 million a year on trying to take away your Second Amendment and gun control. Half of that's probably not true, but the other half is.
Gun-toting pacifist says, did you grab a roller dog too? Why, as a matter of fact, I did. It was a Polish sausage. I absolutely did. No throats were cleared. No one nearly got into altercations during the whole process either. It was all good. There was no threat of violence. It was a good boy. Gun-toting
His throat,
says,
not so much.
What's that?
I said your throat, not so much.
No, I'm still a little sick. That's why I didn't have the. If you think I'm all congested and stuffed up in my nose and whatnot, this week, man, last week was horrible. I sounded like a smoking truck stop waitress, honey. That 60-year-old broad, and yes, who would legitimately be called a broad, with a cigarette hanging out of her mouth that says, "You want some more coffee?" Yeah, that's what I sounded like. It was bad.
Actually, I kind of missed that. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Did Bloomberg's call center go through your facility budget, or was that just some other prison that he was using to make calls?
It would have had to have been somewhere else because we house juveniles and don't do that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, I figured if he was going to go for the big gazoo, he might as well get minor prisoners to make his phone calls for him if he's going to be a complete jerk about it.
Oh, yeah. D-Temp says, I think Bloomberg plays patty cake with Soros.
Probably does.
That's funny. He probably plays something else with him, too.
We won't say.
Yeah. Trying to be a family-friendly show, dang it. Yeah. Although, one of the things we're going to talk about, matter of fact, we're going to move on to talking about this right now. We're going to move on to, so let me ask you guys. 9mm Mia says we're all sick too. I also sound like a broad. Hope you feel better soon.
You do.
Anyhow, what do you guys think about off-body carry? If you're going to have a gun on you, if you're going to carry a gun, should you carry it? Or is putting it someplace off your body acceptable?
I don't know.
Kingpin, what do you think?
Well, probably be in the person with the least amount of experience carrying because of the state I live in. My opinion, for my lifestyle, I would off-body carry while I'm at work, but I also work in residential houses, so the customer I'm working for is most likely not going to attack me. And only other time that I would consider off-body carrying is like right now when I'm sitting at my house. I got my gun on my nightstand instead of in a holster. But if I kind of think it would kind of defeat the purpose of carrying to not have it holstered and on you.
Squib, what are your thoughts on the subject?
I agree with it. I think it's okay to do. I think there are certain I don't want to call them precautions. Maybe you can call them precautions, or just certain things you got to get used to, be aware of when you do it. But I'm not one of these instructors that I don't know. It's one of those. This is your choice, and I'm usually not in the camp that says you can't have this, you can't carry that, you can't do, as long as it's not unsafe. You're not endangering the safety of people around you, especially other shooters. It's a choice thing. Just be aware that there are a few extra steps that I would advise taking if you want to do this, and as long as you're willing to do that, it's fine.
Okay. Hey, you guys that are on there on the panel on the gun tube chamber, you might want to if you can, go to a second screen and watch this on a second screen so you can see the video. Because yeah, we're gonna be watching the video. Stealth Hunter, what do you think? Off-body carry, good, bad, indifferent?
It's a 50-50. There's a
50-50.
time and a place.
I tend to believe that unless you have absolutely, positively, without a doubt, no other option, when you carry a gun, you should carry the gun and you should have it on you. And this video illustrates why. Here we have the guy doing his countdown. Perp 1, Perp 2 come in. Here is where we have to have situational awareness. And I'm, working where I work, I'm kind of big on situational awareness, always knowing what's going on. I don't know if you can hear it in the video, but the door has a motion sensor alarm, and it went off. Clerk keeps looking down at his money. Had he looked up, he would have seen what's known as a pre-incident indicator. Pre-incident indicator being something that tells you that something's about to go down. Being the guy covered completely up with just his nose sticking out. So that's kind of a pre-incident indicator that something's about to happen. See, he just looked up, then goes back to what he's doing. Bad guy number 1 goes back here. Bad guy number 2 comes around the counter. Hops up the counter. Now, let's back that up just a second. Here's another pre-incident indicator. Bad guy number 2 walking around, hands in the pockets. Or bad guy number 1, hands in the pockets, just like bad guy number 2. Hops over the thing, still doesn't notice. Now, right here, he sees the bad guy coming up, pointing a pistol at him. In an interview after this incident happened, the clerk said that he yes, I know New York, you can hear him say a word that I don't want on my show. He says it a couple times, and I don't blame him. Anyhow, he said in an interview that when he saw this, he didn't believe what was happening. He thought it was a joke. He thought it was a prank. That's called normalcy bias. You have to be able to overcome that. You people walk around thinking, well, everything is going to happen the way it normally happens. It's just going to be normal. And if something is not normal, it's not really what it seems to be. They ignore that gut feeling. That's called normalcy bias. And that's what he's experiencing right here, that moment of shock. Because mentally he's not prepared to accept what's coming at him. Oh, God damn it! Oh, fuck. So, bad guy knocks him in the head, grabs him by the throat, knocks him in the head, and throws him down. Starts reaching for the till.
We heard the language.
Yes, and he cussed. And he keeps hitting him. Now, right here, during all this, bad guy is focused right here. That's where his eyes are. If the clerk was carrying on body, this is where he would have been able to draw while he's hunched down here.
Draw
The
and
bad
shoot
guy's
him.
paying no attention to him. He's focused. This is when he would have been able to draw and go to work with his pistol. That would have been a good opportunity to do it. But he's not carrying on body. Those that didn't catch it and didn't realize it, the pistol's in this drawer right here beside the till. See, he still has all this time where he could have drawn and fired to defend himself. Because at this point, this guy struck him in the head with a pistol. He's threatened him. He's already assaulted him, and he's robbing him. To me, you know, his intentions are definitely not good, and you don't know what he's going to do. I think it would be justified, but let's go a little further. Bad guy pushes him down, still paying attention to the till. Store clerk says, all right, he's looking down, let's go ahead and grab it. Now, what he did was he waited for what was his best chance, given the way that the weapon was staged. And I got to give him applause for that. You know, he waited until the guy was focused. Let's back up just a sec. He waited till the guy's focus was down here on this basket, not even looking over in this way. So I have to give him credit for that. You know, he waited until the right moment to go for this drawer. Because if he'd have tried it when the guy was over here, he might have got shot because he's looking right at him. With the guy's focus here in the till, he's going to see you going for it. But this is the time. This is the spot, and he took it. But it wasn't fast enough. Bad guy's on him, starts struggling with him for the weapon, says, "Hey, bro, he's got a gun," to his partner.
You got a gun, bro.
Now, here is where I thought for sure we were going to see something grisly. I thought for sure we were going to see this bad guy put one through the clerk's dome. Because he could do it. He has the clerk dead to rights. He could end him right now if that's what he chose to do. Instead of pulling the picture, he starts pistol whipping him some more. That shot is the clerk firing off a round, I think. Because given the orientation of the bad guy's muzzle, the clerk would have been shot, and he wasn't shot in this.
If the bad guy
shot is the clerk shooting the bad guy as the bad guy's fleeing. The bad guy later died, by the way. He took the room temperature challenge.
the bad guy that was rooting through the cash register, if he was really about it, after he pistol whipped the guy the first time, and then the guy started getting off the ground, he'd have shot him in his head right there.
Yeah.
So the store clerk, there's a bunch of different scenarios right there where the clerk could have got shot a bunch of different times.
The partner comes running this way. Looks like he maybe points a weapon. I can't really tell. Looks like he had a weapon pointed. The other bad guy points a weapon. Doesn't do nothing. This clerk then takes the weapon, takes the pistol, puts it down on the counter. I think this is a co-worker coming up, because he comes up, grabs the pistol, and heads towards the door after checking to make sure this guy's all right and whatnot. But as I've been saying throughout this whole thing, that clerk is only alive because the bad guys didn't want to kill him. That's it.
Well, they're smash and grab guys. That's not their thing, killing people. You know, on average, people who rob convenience stores for the few $100 you're going to get out of there are what just
Well,
smacking bad guys. They're
yeah,
not.
but that doesn't mean that they won't kill you, and that's the
Oh,
problem.
no. Yeah, I'm not saying that.
You
I'm just
never
saying
know when that guy that's willing to go there, especially once his face was revealed.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
never
I'm
know.
not take him lightly, but
He had plenty of. My point is this: as far as the off-body thing goes, he had plenty of time to draw and go to work with it if he needed to on the bad guy when the bad guy was focused on that till. If he had been carrying on body, even if it had been pocket carry, which is less than ideal, but still, you know, he had to wait and wait and wait for the best chance that he had, which still wasn't a very good one, to reach for the pistol. And you know, you saw how much time he had to beat the living snot out of that guy, and really he could have killed him right there if he wanted to. I don't know. What do you guys think? Now that
It's
I've
not
put
an
that
off-body
down
carry issue.
I'm sorry?
It's
I'm
not
sorry, I
an
didn't hear you.
off-body carry issue. It's not an off-body carry versus on-body carry issue. Yes, I do agree with you that if he had on-body carry, even pocket carry, he could have done a point-blank shot at, right in this guy's gut if he wanted to when he was down. I do agree with you on that. So the on-body carry would give him an additional advantage. But this wasn't about the off-body carry. This is about the clerk.
Okay.
This is about the clerk's. He failed to recognize or accept the threat. He failed to react when he still had the opportunity to react. And the way he off-body carried, the way he put the firearm, so as far as accessibility. Now, you wouldn't want him just leaving it right underneath the counter, almost in plain sight, and then walking over to restock the shelf. And, at that point, he either put it in a lockbox or carry it on your body. But if you're going to have it behind the counter, you need to have it where you can get to it. And that's one of his failures, is he could have still off-body carried and still been effective. If he had that thing right underneath the register where he could grab it, he could pull that out just as fast as he could out of a holster if he's concealed carrying. Now, if he was open carrying, somewhere in between. But still, even then, depending on what kind of holster and how fast he could draw, he might still be better pulling it out from a shelf right underneath the register. But I think this is on the clerk, not on the method.
Okay. Valid points. Anybody else have any thoughts? Alrighty. Then we will put that one to rest. Let's see. Where am I at? I think that given what time it is, we are going to do some triage here and trim the fat a little bit and move on to the newest segment of our show. Moron of the Week. For those who don't know what Moron of the Week is where I pick someone who said or did something incredibly stupid that is Second Amendment related, and I tend to pick 2, maybe 3, depending upon what's happened. And you guys out there in the chat and here on the panel get to decide who the winner is. So let's go ahead and go to that.
And now prepare yourself for another tale of stupidity in this episode of Moron of the Week.
First up, this is a piece from CNN by Dakin Andoni from December 19th, 2019. Again, this is a little bit more than the week. It's actually 8 days old. But as I said, I didn't have a show last week, so hey, bear with me. A radio show was canceled after a host said a nice school shooting would break up the monotony of the Trump impeachment coverage. CNN, a Denver radio show has been canceled after one of the hosts wished for a nice school shooting to break up coverage of President Donald Trump's impeachment. The host, Chuck Bonnewell, was opening a segment of the Chuck and Julie show Tuesday afternoon when he said they would be discussing the never-ending impeachment of Donald Trump, according to audio obtained by the Colorado Times Recorder. His wife, co-host Julie Hayden, laughed before Bonnewell added, you wish for a nice school shooting to interrupt the monotony. No, don't even say that. No, don't even say that, Hayden said. Don't call us. Chuck didn't say that. Bonnewell immediately said, which no one would be hurt. The radio station, 710 KNUS, called Bonnewell's comment inappropriate in a statement posted to his website Wednesday. The show would be canceled immediately, the statement said. Given the history of school violence that has plagued our community, 710 KNUS confirms that an inappropriate comment was made on the Chuck and Julie show by co-host Chuck Bonnewell, the statement said. A programming decision was made to end the program immediately. According to CNN affiliate KDVR, Bonnewell initially issued a statement saying the comment was meant as a joke. I'm sorry it was not received in that light, he added. In another statement posted to their Facebook page Thursday morning, Hayden and Bonnewell said he would unsay the inappropriate comment if he could. As parents of a child in elementary school, they worry about school shootings and his safety, they said. Violence causes too much hurt for victims and their families, and we truly did not intend to add to that pain, the statement said. The Denver area has seen multiple deadly school shootings over the years, dating back to at least 1999 when 13 people were killed at Columbine High School. Earlier this year, 18-year-old Kendrick Castillo was killed in a shooting at STEM School Highlands Ranch, not far from Columbine, when he lunged at one of the shooters. So, good old Chucky is contestant number 1 on Moron of the Week. Let's see, who's contestant number 2? Contestant number 2 is Nancy Pelosi. This is a piece from the Washington Post. Come on, doggone it. No, I don't want to sign up for
Nancy Pelosi for the win just because it's Nancy Pelosi. I don't even need to hear what she said. I already know.
Only in the
She
case
gets the win by default every time. If you ever put her in this contest, she's automatically the winner.
No. Hold up. Only in the case that she's not up against Elizabeth Warren. Okay.
Oh, that would be tough.
Touche.
That's like unstoppable force and immovable object type stuff right there.
And the reason for that is because we all know how much Elizabeth Warren lies. She is the whitest woman in America, after all.
Speaking of lying, Pelosi's bogus talking point on gun deaths of children. This is from Glenn Kessler from December 17, 2019. In the 266 days since we sent this bill, about 25,000 people have died from gun violence in our country, 47% of them teenagers or children younger than that. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi remarks to the media November 20, 2019. Regular readers of the Fact Checker know that we tend to not award Pinocchios to politicians who admit error. That's different from other fact-checking organizations. PolitiFact, for instance, rates the statement as it stands no matter the explanation. Our feeling is that the Pinocchios can be a harsh judgment, and we don't want to play gotcha, especially if someone misspoke in the heat of the moment. We all make mistakes. We will often still do a fact check, but it's more important to set the record straight than to slam someone with a bunch of Pinocchios. Still, at times, we have wondered whether some politicians, especially Democrats, took advantage of our policy. The campaign of former Vice President Joe Biden, for instance, at first defended his clearly false statement that he opposed the Iraq War from the moment it started. When it looked like he would earn 4 Pinocchios, suddenly we received a statement that he admitted he was wrong. Other presidential candidates also have been quick to say they misspoke. So that brings us to this case, a misspoke that turned out to have been repeated constantly. Pelosi made these comments shortly before Thanksgiving at a news conference in which she complained that the GOP-controlled Senate, led by Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, had failed to take action on gun violence bills passed by the House. A reader pointed out a startling figure in her remarks, that 47% of the people who died in gun violence in the United States are teenagers or younger. On the face of it, it seemed a strange statistic, as about 60% of gun deaths in the United States are suicides. Homicides are less than 40%. It seems strange that so many children would be killing themselves with guns. A check of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention database found that in 2017, 3,443 deaths from firearms were between the ages of 0 and 19. Given that the CDC recorded 37,771 deaths from firearms, that would be just under 9%. That's significantly lower than 47%. So we asked Pelosi's office to explain her math. Henry V. Connolly, a Pelosi spokesman, was quick to respond to our query. The speaker misspoke. The statistic that she intended to reference is that an average of 47 children and teens are shot every day. That's certainly different from 47% killed. Connolly said the statistic was drawn from a study by the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. The Brady Campaign averaged 5 years of data, 2012 to 2016, for the CDC. The Brady 5-year data included that 7.3% of the people in the United States who die every day because of firearms are 19 and younger. The number killed is 7 a day. In terms of people being shot, teenagers and young children account for about 14% of the total. So Pelosi's point was way off course, but her spokesman said she misspoke, and we got busy with more pressing matters. But then we realized that this was not a single slip of the tongue. Pelosi's tongue has been slipping all year. Giggity. In February, during a floor speech before a vote on the House's proposed law to enhance background checks, Pelosi said nearly 40,000 lives are cut short every year from gun violence. An average of 47 children and teenagers are killed by guns every single day. In September news release, she said, every day that Senator McConnell blocks our House-passed life-saving bills, an average of 100 people, including 47 children and teenagers, die from senseless gun violence. On September 26, she tweeted, 100 people die every day from gun violence, 47 of them children and teenagers. In October, she told reporters, we said 200 days, 100 people on an average day, around 20,000 people have died, 47% of them children and teenagers as old as teenagers. In November, she told one of our Washington Post colleagues, every single day about 100 people die from gun violence, 47% of them children or teenagers. She ain't misspeaking shit. There are 3 other examples in November as well. Sometimes she said or implied 47% of those killed are teenagers or children. Other times she said 47% or teenagers were killed a day, which would amount to 43% of all firearms deaths. Neither is close to accurate. Twice we asked Connolly for an explanation, but did not get a response. The Pinocchio test. For months, in speeches, news conferences, tweets, and interviews, Pelosi has been using a version of an incorrect talking point to make the firearms death toll for teenagers and children appear significantly higher than reality. Fewer than 9% of those killed by guns are 19 or younger, not 47%. 7 children or teenagers are killed a day, not 47. When we queried her staff, we were told she had simply misspoken. But that was false, too. Gun violence is an important issue in the U.S. There's no reason to goose the numbers for political purposes. Pelosi earns 4 Pinocchios. So there you have it, folks. Good old Chucky Chuck of the man, I wish we had a good school shooting, or Nancy Pelosi and her repeated lie about how many people are killed daily with firearms.
Can I ask a clarification question, please?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The radio host guy, did he say that live on air, or did he say that in a private conversation that somebody just overheard?
He said it live on the air.
Ah, okay, that's a big difference.
Yep, that was live.
Yeah, that makes you stupid.
So, Kingpin, who's your vote for, Chucky or Nancy?
Well, since the guy on the radio said it live on air, that makes him stupid. If he said it in a private conversation and got ratted out, I'm not cool with that. But live on air, you got to know better. Nancy Pelosi lied on purpose, so I don't think she did it because she's stupid. I think she did it because she's evil. So I'm going to vote for Chuck.
Chucky with 1. Squib, Chucky or Nancy?
Nancy's going to win every time, but them shutting down the radio show over that, I think, was an overreaction. I think they could make a public statement and say, yeah, it was a joke that was taken too far, and we've changed our guidelines, or we've had some training or some internal communication as far as certain things that maybe are off limits. Of course, that opens up the floodgates to everybody who's sensitive to everything calling in and going, I was offended by this joke. I was offended by that joke. I understand that there are some tasteless jokes out there, and we see all kinds of comedians that make tens of millions of dollars a year do them. And people pay lots of money to hear them do those jokes. And I'm not excusing what this guy did. But this was, how many times have you been in a conversation with somebody and somebody says something, the first thing that pops in their head, and then you can see the look on their face as they realize that was just me putting my foot in my mouth. This was just the stupidest thing. And that's what this guy did. I understand he's a professional and on and on and on, but there's always going to be somebody who finds some sort of humor in something that's maybe inappropriate, and somebody else who's offended by every sort of thing. I think they just overreacted. I think they could have handled it a little bit better.
So who do you vote for?
Pelosi every time.
Okay, Pelosi. Night Strike, Chucky or Nancy?
Nancy always says stupid things, but I don't know. I think the radio getting canceled. I think Chucky wins.
Stealth Hunter, Chuck or Nancy?
I might have to go with Nancy because Chuck Schumer and stuff, he knows what he's doing, and he knows when to, cast the line and bring it back in. She's so out of it anymore, and they're covering up. I mean, if you watch one of the town halls she did, like the more recent ones, she was making mistakes so badly it wasn't funny. She has something wrong mentally in her head.
All right, well, so far with our panel, Chuck and Nancy are neck and neck. So let's go ahead and take this to the chat. Out there in the chat, we got 31 people watching, so let's get some votes in here. Who do you think is more idiotic this week? Chucky, the radio, let's have another school shooting guy, or Nancy Pelosi, let's continually lie about shooting statistics. Voting starts now, and no detemp. You can't vote for AOC because, well, it's AOC. So, no. Let's see. Gun-toting pacifist says Chuck. 45 ACP says Nancy. So they're still tied 3-3, folks. Let's go ahead and get some views in. Not views, but votes in. New York says Nancy. 9mm says Chuck. D-Temp says Chuck. Anybody else out there in Chatland want to weigh in on this? We have 5 for Chuck and 4 for Nancy.
Come on, give us one more Chuck. Come on, just one more, guys. Just one more.
Midnight says Chuck is an idiot. Nancy is just crazy. Voting for Chuck. 6 for Chuck. Squibwood, you already voted.
You already voted, Squib. You can't get a second vote.
Jacob says slipping in a news story is crud. I mean, get your facts straight or correct immediately after speaking, or stats aren't worth squid. So, okay, so who are you voting for there, Jacob S? John Z says Chansey. Yet, no, you can't vote for both.
Did you get your vote, Budget?
Not yet. Ohio 45 says the radio comment was in bad taste. Nancy is an elected official influencing the opinion of the public. Very different. John Z says Chuck for sure.
Oh, you got a comment that says
Chuck. John Z says Chuck is just evil.
He is.
I just hear a bunch of people out there that would vote for Nancy Pelosi if they could. You guys, what am I going to do about you?
It says, Mr. I tried to vote twice.
All
I was
right,
just doing the Democratic
go ahead
thing.
And call this one for Chuck with 10 votes, because Chuck would be the one I would vote for, because I agree. Chuck was stupid. Nancy's evil. So there we have it, folk. For our final Moron of the Week for 2019, good old Chuck. I want to have another school shooting.
And there we had another tale of stupidity in this week's episode of Moron of the Week.
Route 45 ACP says, I'm from Chicago. My second vote is also for Nancy.
Who the heck is Home Slice?
I'm really starting to like this segment. It's fast becoming my favorite one. It's fun. It's fun. So that takes us to our final segment, which I really should develop an intro and outro all its own for this, because I think it deserves one. Favorite blooper of the year? Watch every single show all through it. That's pretty much it. Anyhow,
technical difficulties.
Yeah, that technical difficulties gets its own segment on this show every Friday.
Oh, goodness.
Every Friday.
You know, maybe I should go back and go through all these and edit out all the technical difficulties into a blooper reel for this show. Maybe when I get some spare time, I'll do that.
I'd watch it.
That is a man. I don't know if anybody will have time to watch something like that. That'd be like a ginormous nut and fancy type video.
Well, you know, hey, the truth is.
Anyhow, let's go ahead and move on to the last segment, what is Roll Call 219's favorite segment, Self-Defense Shoutouts. For those of you who are new to the show or have never stuck around to the end, Self-Defense Shoutouts are not, in fact, where I'm reveling in the proposition that the bad guy took the dirt temperature challenge. It took the dirt nap in the room temperature challenge. See, there we go. There's another blooper. Self-defense shoutouts are not where I'm reveling in the proposition that the bad guy took the room temperature challenge and won with a dirt nap. It is where I'm reveling in the fact that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to prevent the bad guy from doing unto him or her. So, first up, and we have several again because, I went a little bit long without it. First one is from, who is this from? Breaking911.com. Would-be robber shot dead by armed FedEx driver in Philadelphia from December 17th, 2019. A 32-year-old FedEx driver fatally shot a would-be robber on the city's northeast Tuesday evening. The incident unfolded around 7 p.m. in the 600 block of Unruh Avenue in the Lawndale neighborhood. According to local media, a gunman shot the delivery driver in the stomach before the employee fired back, striking the suspect several times in the chest. The suspect was taken to a hospital in critical condition, where he later died. The unidentified driver is in stable condition and is expected to survive. Police say the investigation is ongoing, and they're not yet ruling out other suspects. So, kudos to you, FedEx driver. I'm hoping that you did not get fired. Although you probably did. Next is from WKZO from December 14th. Military veteran stops attack by tackling armed suspect. Kalamazoo, Michigan, WKZO AM/FM. A suspect threatening to shoot up a crowd is thwarted due to quick action by a military veteran. Officers from the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety responded to the 2700 block of West Michigan Avenue near the campus of Western Michigan University at 2:06 a.m. for a report of a fight with a male who flashed a gun. Multiple officers were already in the area on a directed patrol and arrived quickly. Upon arrival, the suspect was being held on the ground by the veteran. The suspect was seen by witnesses flashing a gun during a fight, then heard by the military veteran that he was going to shoot everybody. Officers located a loaded handgun on the suspect and placed him in custody. As a result of this investigation and the heroism of a military veteran taking action, the suspect, a 32-year-old Milford, Ohio resident, is in custody on multiple felony charges related to this incident. Anyone with information about this incident is asked to contact Kalamazoo Public Safety or Silent Observer. So, good on you, sir. Good on you. Next up, from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, AJC.com, Brookhaven homeowner shoots, kills suspected burglar, police say. By Shadi Abu Sain, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Oh, no, I don't want... No. No. No, thank you. Anyhow, Brookhaven, a Brookhaven man shot and killed a suspected burglar Wednesday after finding the intruder inside his home, police said. Officers were dispatched to the residence on Wilmont Drive about noon after getting a call about a person shot, Brookhaven Deputy Chief Brandon Gurley told AJC.com. What we believe is that the homeowner came home to a burglary in progress, he said. The person inside who was shot, we believe, is the suspected burglar. Police processed the scene for most of the afternoon before leaving the neighborhood Wednesday evening. Gurley said the homeowner is cooperating with investigators and that no charges have been filed against him. The body of the suspected burglar was turned over to the DeKalb County Medical Examiner's Office for identification. His name will be released once his family has been notified. Next up, excuse me. Next up, from YourCentralValley.com, by, who is this by? By Your Central Valley staff from December 20th. 2 killed after trying to rob a smoke shop. 3rd suspect on the run. Fresno, California, KSEE. A robbery hit on a central Fresno smoke shop turned into a shootout Friday when the robbers were confronted by the owner. Fresno Police Sergeant Tim Teitchen said the 3 men in dark clothing with ski masks over their heads entered Smoke and Vape near Cambridge and Blackstone Avenues sometime after 9 p.m. The 3 demanded money and took some out of the cashier's drawer. After that, the owner tried to stop them from leaving, and the 2 parties started shooting at each other. 2 of the suspects were shot and taken to Community Regional Medical Center, where they were pronounced dead. The 3rd suspect is on the run. Police are currently using helicopters and canine officers to find him. Police are also looking for surveillance video in the area. The owner wasn't injured in the gunfight. Teitchen wasn't able to comment on the men's ages or any other background information. He did say police will likely be there for hours. Well, yeah, when a shooting happens, they're there for a long time. Next up from Newsweek, a masked intruder in Florida was killed by the owner of the residence he entered in the middle of the night, police have said. Lauderhill police said a gunfight broke out in the residence in Lauderhill, a suburb of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at around 12:45 a.m. on Saturday. Lauderhill police spokesperson Lieutenant Michael Santiago said officers responded to the home in the 4400 block of Northwest 16th Street. Santiago said a masked intruder had broken into the home and exchanged gunfire with the homeowner. WSVN reported that the intruder had entered the property through an unlocked front door. The homeowner fled the home after the shooting and alerted police, Santiago added. Officers arrived at the scene to find the intruder dead inside the home. There was a masked gunman on the floor, deceased, Santiago said, according to the Sun Sentinel. He said the homeowner had fired a few rounds from his gun out of his own fear and protection. Santiago added, after he got into the firefight inside his house, he fled the scene to contact police. The investigation is ongoing, and the identities of the 2 men involved in the incident have not been released. The Lauderhill Police Department has been contacted for additional comment. And last, but absolutely not least, from FoxNews.com, published 3 days ago by Robert Garrity. Don't mess with Texas, folks. Houston deputies say 3 would-be robbers killed after residents' break-in attempt. And yeah, I don't care about all this garbage. Yeah. Pop-ups. Anyhow, after residents break-in. 3 would-be robbers were shot and killed Monday. No, I don't care about that either. 3 would-be robbers were shot and killed Monday after being confronted. And I don't care about this. What is...
No! There's so much black. That's disgusting.
I think that people
It is so
with
bad.
this garbage
I brush
on
my
their
teeth.
website should
Yes.
be drawn through,
I'm definitely gonna switch to Arm & Hammer.
My teeth look crazy
should
clean.
be drawn through ground glass and then dipped in a
Sold.
vinegar bath. Because, yeah, I don't want to hear this crap. Thank you. Anyhow, 3 would-be robbers were shot and killed Monday after being confronted in a Texas home by a teen with a shotgun, according to reports. There are 3 males deceased inside the home right now. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez said, according to the KHOU-TV. It appeared that they were committing some type of home invasion or attempted burglary inside the residence. Gonzalez added, "We're going to have a lengthy follow-up investigation out here at the scene. Having 3 dead bodies inside a home is something that is not very common." The owner of the getaway vehicle lived around the corner in Channelview. Fox 26 Houston reported it was unclear if he was one of those killed. The Houston Chronicle identified the teen with the shotgun as 19-year-old Yair Gallegos. Gallegos, probably. He was injured and his family was worried about a gunshot wound to his spine, the paper reported. Most people would agree with me that this was a matter of survival, Gallegos' stepfather, Luis Perez, told the paper. It was those guys who entered the house, or my son. So, absolutely right. I'm glad the young man had the means to defend himself from the bad guys. So, there you have it, folks. Despite what NPR would have you think, the good guy with a gun does stop the bad guy with a gun with disturbing regularity in this country. And that's it. We are done with this edition, the final edition of 2019 of The Right of the People. I'd like to thank all of you who are out there in the audience watching this live and in the replays. You make me feel that doing this is worth it. I absolutely appreciate all the support you've given this show as it's grown and developed, and I hope that you continue to find it worthy of that support. Speaking of worthy, let me say thank you to my esteemed panel. I am just great. Feel so grateful that you guys. Sorry about that. I got distracted by reading a comment out there, and I didn't mean to say I'm just great. No, I'm just grateful that you guys have decided to spend your time helping me do this show as often as you do. First and foremost at the top left-hand corner of our gun tube chamber window here, we have the Kingpin himself, David Bowling. Do you have any words of wisdom? Anything you'd like to plug, sir, before we leave?
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to 2020 and Budget Guns and Gear review.
Thank you very much. As always, we have the irascible yet lovable Squibload. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with, sir?
I'd like to submit an additional vote for Nancy. And also, I think that if that clerk was on body carrying, but open carrying, and the clerks came in there and saw that, or they had cased the place beforehand, they'd go, why don't we go down the street to another store? Because the deterrent factor alone, there's a lot to be said about it. Thanks for the invite.
Right
and
there.
Everybody
I said this guy right there, exactly what he just said.
Thanks for the invite, and everybody have a safe new year.
Night Strike. First off, thank you, sir, for the development and implementation of GunTube Chamber. I have enjoyed using it as opposed to Google Hangouts over the past months. Is there anything else? Anything you would like to add? Anything you would like to plug? Just in case you are new to the show and have never seen Night Strike on it, if you are wearing headphones, you may wish to turn your volume down, possibly. But he might surprise us. Let's see.
Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shall not be infringed.
Nothing else you need to add to that, buddy.
I'm not going to yell it anymore. Plus, people are sleeping now,
okay.
So I'm not going to yell. But yeah, thanks for the invite. Sorry for the slip up. You know, I'm allowed at least one a show. Okay. But yeah, we had some really ringers tonight to talk about, and yeah, check out guntube.org. I'm working on it. I'm having some problems with the embedding YouTube videos, so hold off on that. But overall, I'm working on it. Live streaming is working perfectly. Recording live streaming is working perfectly. So we got some ups and downs, but uploading the videos that works perfectly. So just don't embed anything yet. I got to figure out what the problem's on that. But overall, check out gun2.org, check out nightstrike.com, and join us for Hit or Miss Tuesday nights 9:00, and on Roll Call 219's channel or my channel, depending on what happens. Watch Rants and Rays every Wednesday night after Never Enough Ammo.
I love that show. Absolutely love it. You guys
we are no holds bar on Rants and Raves.
Absolutely right. They're they're not worried about
There has even been times when Budget has gone on himself and just let loose.
That's right. Well, back after a long hiatus, and I'm very glad to see it. We have Stealth Hunter. Glad you could make it tonight, man. Is there anything you'd like to add to the discussion? Any final words? Any plugs you'd like to make?
Thank you for the invite, and Happy New Year's to everybody in case I don't see you. And I've made it the last 2 pods I was on today. If you have questions, feel free to ask. We all have a wealth of knowledge, or we know people who have a wealth of knowledge, to help the newcomers. I see we have a bunch I haven't seen before on the YouTube side. And please come back. Thank you again.
Thank you. And speaking of thanks, once again, as always, I'd like to thank those of you out there in the chat who've stuck around here to the end, or who have joined us in the middle. It is always humbling and amazing to me that you guys want to spend this time with us on a Friday night when you could be doing absolutely anything else in the world. But here you are with us. And I can't overstate how much that means to me that you guys are willing to spend this time with us. As always, in these dark and dangerous times, I'd like to leave you with the admonition to contact your Congress critters and elected representatives and let them know what you think. We have to be on top of it so that they don't continue forcing these unconstitutional infringements down our throats. Send them snail mail, email, telephone, telegraph, heliograph, semaphore, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, bicycle messengers, anything that you have to, use drum messages. I don't care. Do whatever you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight. See you guys on the next one in 2020.